If you haven't heard already, we are collecting your calls for Listener Request Month. We need those calls in by August 15th. If it's August 16th, you are too late. So 11:59 on August 15th. To make that request, it's very easy. You pick up your phone and you dial 856-DISSECT. That's 856-347-7328. Slow it down, back it up if you need that again, or check the show notes. Leave us your name, where you're calling from, and the movie you'd like to see us cover. We'll do a drawing later in August, and those will be the movies we cover on this show in September. Want a bonus shot at it? Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s and join up there, where you can submit your request and a smaller group of our Patreon supporters who also get an episode chosen from their selections. Once again, 856-DISSECT, and you have until August 15th. If you're an international listener, record a voice memo and email that to dissectingthe80s@gmail.com with Listener Request Month in the subject line. We know you international folks are out there. We'd love to hear from you too if you can't make the call. Once again, you have until August 15th, so make that call now. This show is brought to you by our fine supporters at Patreon, who have more than 25 bonus episodes and over 36 hours of bonus content available to them at the $5 tier. We also send out a great monthly newsletter that highlights some of the things we've been watching lately and gives you a sneak peek at the episodes that are coming up. So if you'd like to stay current with the show and watch the movies that we're going to cover, there's ample opportunity to do that there. Visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to learn more now. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers, and with me, as always, my tag team partner, who looks more like Eddie in terms of looking good for his age, but probably feels somewhere between Judge Reinhold and John Ashton, the Macho Man Drew.
Andrew Lano. It's the 6-step evening skincare routine.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Because here's the thing. For a straight guy in his 30s to look like he's in his 40s, no one cares. If a gay guy in his 30s looks like he's in his 30s, death.
Eddie looks great in this movie.
Shockingly great compared to everyone else, which, obviously he has been the one out of all the returning cast that, has been working. So, it makes sense that he would upkeep his face.
Most rich, yeah.
But it's been what? Why does Judge Reinhold need to get Botox? He's not shooting stuff.
Right.
Eddie Murphy's doing stuff. So
right. Also, not to be racist, but
yeah, there's the adage
white,
that
10, yeah,
black people
don't
tend to
crack
age
is an
more
adage
gracefully.
For real. Yeah. But yeah, he looks great in this movie. Everybody else, glad to see him, is what I would say. And I don't mean to be shitty.
But again,
all in their late
I don't
60s,
really care
so,
that,
it's fine.
Judge Reinhold and Sergeant Taggart, or Chief Taggart, I don't care that they look like they got one foot in the grave. That's fine with me.
Right. I wouldn't say Judge Reinhold looks 1 foot in the grave. John Ashton, perhaps.
John Ashton definitely looks.
He's 75.
He's worse for wear. Reinhold's not too bad.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Anyway, did you see that Eddie Murphy Christmas movie last year?
No, I watched the trailer and was going to watch it and then never did.
That was basically what happened to me. Because I saw the trailer, I was like, did they CG his face? And I was sitting here no, they didn't. That's just, he's got a good face.
Yeah, he's very youthful looking. We are diving into our first legacy sequel with a full episode, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. And I am, let me tell you, shocked that this didn't get put out as BHCAF.
Oh, that would have been fun. That should
it's just shocking to me that wasn't done for this movie.
Yeah. Because it's R, right?
But hard R. I mean, should be harder R. That's one of my quibbles. We'll get into it. But anyway,
we get several hard R's. So no, we don't. We don't get hard R's.
I mean hard R.
I know what you meant, but I was making a joke.
The N-word, just to be clear. We watched Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley. So know what
Axel
that
F.
means.
It's just.
You're right. Song. It is Axel F. It is the song. You're right. I apologize. That is correct. Well, we watched that, and you know what that means.
We got to go back. We got to go dissect the 80s. It's your 40-year sequel. Someone get your 40-year sequel.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott.
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah. Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So I feel like we've spent like a pretty large amount of podcast time talking about legacy sequels, and maybe people are sick of it, maybe they're not. I don't know. You tell us. Get us, at Dissect the 80s on Twitter, or on Facebook, or send us an email if you're like, I really am sick of this, or I love when you talk about this. We'll take your feedback into consideration. Can't promise that we will, fully abide by it, but I felt like if we did this, we would maybe get a lot out of the system. Maybe we don't do those asides as much, and maybe that's a good thing, and maybe it's not. But also, I just thought this looked interesting. Like, I was intrigued by the trailer a lot because a lot of this looked practical, and I was shocked by that. For one, that it's made by Netflix.
There was one. I clocked one CGI explosion. Yes,
there's one. There is one pretty obvious CGI explosion. There's like, they kind of hide it by using like a ground fire effect, but the plume is fake. Is that the one you're thinking of? Mm-hmm. Okay,
towards the end.
Yeah, but like a lot of stunt work, a lot of car action that's like actually smashing up cars and doing stuff with cars. Big quibble on the no squibs. Like either do nothing or do squibs, but don't do CGI blood. I hate CGI blood. It looks so stupid. Anyway, we'll get into all this stuff as we go through here, but I just wanted to, put that at the top that like, hey, this is the first time we're really diving into the legacy sequel thing.
And maybe it's just because I just watched Beverly Hills Cop a week ago, but this was very enjoyable.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think it's quite as great, but
no, it's certainly not better than the first, but it's sort of like the 2018's Halloween. Like,
yes, I fully agree with that.
Very good. It's never going to surpass the original, but boy, did they come pretty close.
The thing I've been thinking about in my head all day, trying to come up with a good analogy for this, is it's not lightning in a bottle, which that first one certainly was. And we didn't talk too much about the history of the first one with regard to that, and like how Eddie did a lot of improv and those things. And, there are other places that probably would have done that. Maybe that's a better podcast, but we did not. So I'm not going to rehash all of it. But this is like really cool pictures of lightning. Is that as cool as lightning in a bottle? No, but it's still pretty cool, right? Yeah. Like if you see a big blown up photograph of a lightning strike, you're like, oh shit, that's pretty righteous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that.
Like I live in DC here, and every time there's a big storm, someone gets a really rad shot of a bolt of lightning behind one of the national monuments. It looks cool, like, big jagged bolt of lightning right behind the Washington Monument or right in front of it or something. And that's what I was thinking the whole time, is like, not as good as lightning in a bottle, but shockingly pretty entertaining.
It's like a National Geographic photo of lightning.
Yeah. And what I think it is they really focused on vibes here. Is there some stuff I have quibbles with? Yeah, and we'll talk about that as we go through. But if you're going to make a sequel to a movie that had a bunch of cool car chases, a bunch of cool shootouts,
great music,
great music. I part of my beef with this actually is that they reuse so many of the soundtrack beats in the first 30 minutes. Like, so many of the needle drops are just like needle drops from the other movie. Not that they're bad songs, but I was just like, I don't know, guys, pick a different one. Anyway,
I'm always here for the Neutron Dance.
I mean, The Heat Is On, also a great song.
Also great.
Like, they do use them effectively. I just was like, after the third one, I was like, all right, maybe we pick a new song. And then later they added like a remix version, which I thought was good.
I did really like what they did with Axel F. Like, it's not the same, like, it's not your grandma's Axel F, but like, genuinely, like, it's a little more subdued. It's not as like overtly synthy. So if you had never seen any of these movies, you would watch this and go, oh, this is 80s flavored.
Yes. And that's what I was like driving at too before that I lost my train of thought there, is like, this movie feels like an 80s or 90s action movie. It's obviously not like based on who is in it. And like, I'm not an idiot. I understand when it was made, but there's so much attention paid to the little details of the explosions for the most part, of the car crash stuff for the most part, of the tone for the most part. And it's like, there's a couple sequences that feel like really vintage Eddie Murphy bits.
Oh, for sure.
We'll get to some of that as we go, but I was just really impressed by how much people seem to give a shit, because so many of these legacy sequels that's the problem. I feel like people don't give a shit. It's like, I like this thing, I want to do something like this thing, and so we end up with a really filtered through the modern era version that is not as fun. And
it's not just an executive being like, people will give us money if we put this label on it.
Yeah, and it felt like people like this original movie and to some extent the sequels, and that they wanted to do some stuff related to that, which I thought was shockingly is a surprising twist on so many of these. So quick plot recap here. It's the fourth time out here with our old pal Axel Foley. He's got an estranged daughter, and she comes sort of back into his life when he finds out that Billy Rosewood, aka Judge Reinhold, has gone missing, and they've kept up their friendship, and so he's very concerned about his friend and concerned
about his daughter's safety.
Yes, and so he heads out to Beverly Hills once again to try to help, figure out what's going on out there.
Frankly, I'm kind of shocked. I guess if this was made by Peacock, Eddie Murphy at one point would have driven through a filming of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Oh,
100%. You would have gotten like Kyle. I was jumping out of the way.
Shocked.
She might not be there anymore, but
I was shocked they didn't blow up a Netflix billboard.
Oh yeah,
because I feel like Netflix is always doing shit like that. Like Netflix movies love to tell you that they're Netflix movies, and so I was like waiting for like a car to go right through the billboard or something, but they didn't do that. We start with "The Heat Is On," as we do,
and a good retro font.
A good retro font, and we're actually in Detroit, including Eddie Murphy, actually in Detroit in some of these scenes. It sure looks like, anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's the other thing, these movies take place in Detroit and California, and guess what? They actually filmed them in Detroit and California, at least some of it. Obviously, maybe not every single frame is in those two places. And guess what? You fucking notice.
Yeah, you could feel
not
it.
In a warehouse in Atlanta, And I never watched the Coming to America, the number 2 America, because I thought that trailer just looked god awful, and that was exactly what we're talking about. And it's also another Eddie Murphy legacy sequel of just like, I don't know, we'll just shit something out and people will watch it because it's on streaming and they see Eddie Murphy's face.
Yeah.
So I frankly, I know Netflix doesn't do this, but given how well Bad Boys 4.
I think it's 4
at the box office, they didn't pivot and try to put this out and make some money that way. It was really surprising to me.
I wonder if it's like you need if that's not something that you can just turn on a dime. Like,
yeah, maybe they would have had to delay it or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Netflix is not a company that believes in theatrical distribution. They do it like exactly enough to try to get awards.
They do it
to qualify for.
They
awards,
do the bare minimum.
Yeah. We have some kids shooting off fireworks in this opening montage, and mamma mia, the fucking fireworks that down here in DC, I am on the now 9th day straight of fireworks every night.
Ours finished on Sunday.
Tell you, I had one last night, and it was just a couple, but I was like, aren't you out of ammunition yet? My God.
There was one going till 11:30 on, I think it might have been on the 4th of July, and I was like, a lot of people work tomorrow.
On July 4th, the fireworks were still going at 1 a.m.
Oh God!
And as I was falling asleep, they had like petered out between 12:45 and 1. And then as I was falling asleep, right around 1, there was like a single that woke me. Like as I was drifting off, it like snapped me awake, and I was like, "You son of a bitch!"
You're talking like local, totally. Like some jabroni.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about dinguses with fireworks, not the official city fireworks.
Well, we had a problem about a month ago. We were watching. My boyfriend and I were watching The First Omen, I think. And all of a sudden, we like turned the lights off in the living room. And all of a sudden, we could see the like flashing, the red flashing. And we're like, what's going on? So we went onto our screened-in back porch, and we could smell the smoke. And there were neighbors down on the ground level, on the ground floor, in the heat. And we were like, they were like, someone shot off fireworks for a graduation party over there and didn't. "Quote unquote," Jesus. Didn't know they set fire to the brush behind our house.
Oh Jesus!
So it's an alleyway. Like it's one of those. It's row home street, row home tiny alley for the cars to park in and the garbage to go. So this fucking fire truck had to back its way down our alley with like a bunch of neighbors being like, "You got it, you're good."
Oh God! Cut it left.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Delco dads. And it was wild.
Oh man. I was trying to think. I was trying to find the voice, and then I was like, I don't know what they'd be saying to the fire.
That's what I have the voice, but I was like,
there's no. I got no words that have
get the water.
Funny enough. Yeah. Bring your wooder down here. Anyway.
Get the water hose.
There it is. Anyway, the movie kicks off here, and Axel is at the Red Wings game with this kind of
Jean-Claude Van Damme. Or Steven Seagal. Fuck, I can never remember.
No, you got it right. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah. It's almost never Seagal. He only has like one good one.
I know, but he did. I'm sure he just like cranked it out.
He's many. Yeah, I mean, he's probably got 100, I would imagine, at least. Especially because he does like fat old Steven Seagal movies at a record pace here. But I was like, oh, it's not a Lions game. That's pretty weird. And then it was, we're zooming in. And I was like, oh wait, that's the Red Wings place. And of course it's a hockey game. And I was like, oh shit, it's sudden death. And I was like, I gotta say, not the first team I would have picked for Axel because he's always wearing the Lions jacket. And then I loved the whole runner here with Eddie and this guy where he's like, oh, because I'm black, I can't like a hockey game. And the guy doing like a humana. And the turning that into like my great grandfather played for the equivalent of the baseball Negro leagues, that there was like a
we never got
of it.
I felt very unsatisfied that there was never a true punchline of like, that's not true, or that is very true. Like, I needed confirmation either way.
No, he says no. He says, I'm fucking with you.
Does he? I missed that.
Yeah. He says I'm fucking with you because he says I'm fucking with you, and then it has the bit where Eddie starts doing the impression of the coworker, and he does the voice.
Yeah.
And the coworker's like, now if I do you, and Eddie cuts him off immediately. He's like, incredibly offensive. Yeah. With just some great delivery.
And I was like, I really hope that these jokes aren't the whole movie, and it's just like here now because you have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh man, this is really good." I think this is what I'm looking for out of a Beverly Hills Cop. Is like, this is funny. It's good to see him doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. The Red Wings are playing the Vegas Golden Knights, one of the dumbest names in professional sports. Really, truly,
but like at least it's not offensive, I guess, to a race of people.
Sure, but like if you're putting a team in Vegas, how about you name it something gambling related, which is all anyone knows that dumb town for.
What would you call it? The Vegas what?
The Aces?
Oh, Aces are bad.
The Kings? I guess the Kings is already taken. The
Craps?
They could be the Craps. The Dealers?
Or what's the spinny one? Roulette.
Roulette?
Or they could be slot the Vegas slot machines. I just want that.
How about like the Bandits, as in like one-armed bandits, because that's what people call the slot machine. There's just like Vegas-y names they could have picked. The Golden. I know it's like
or the Vegas Sevens
pilot thing. Sevens is good. Love sevens. Fighter Pilots is obviously taken, and I think Aces might have been taken by the WNBA team, but there's just like ways you could have come up with something Vegas-y, I feel.
Probably.
The Mobsters.
Yeah, I think there's a reason we don't do that, and the reason is the Mobsters.
But it would be a respectful name. If it was like the Mobsters, people would be like, oh, that's like they're intimidating and scary. And you make the mascot like he doesn't have like a face you can see. He's got like the
big shoulders and a hat down.
Big shoulders and the collar up and the hat down, and his face is just kind of like
he's like a Little Tykes, no Fisher Price, Wild Western Town or pirate ship figure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just feel like you could have gotten some good, cool gambling shit. The dice, the rolling dice.
That's not bad.
I don't know. The sixes.
I'm just picturing what is the mascot going to look like then? And I want a slot machine mascot
for the dice.
Well, the dice is whatever. It's fine. Like
the dice is a big anthropomorphic dice that I feel like we would all have fallen in love with.
I mean, no, he's no Gritty, but
we haven't seen him. We don't know. We never will.
Would he have arms, or would he be like like an ornament or a present in a Christmas parade?
I'm picturing arms and legs, no head. The dice, the face is on the dice.
It's like
the face is made of the dots on the dice.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but I like that. I was just picturing like a big set, like two cartoonish eyes that stick out the top of the dice.
I'm here for that version too. Yeah. I just, anything is almost anything is better than what they chose, which is again some sort of like vague military reference that I'm sure
is it
people
really?
Who care about are upset at. Yeah, it's like some specific squadron or something, but anyway, terrible name in my opinion. I love the thing though. So he's got the binoculars and he's
doing the Axel Foley. This is actually a sting.
Yeah, and I've got this plan, and he is, oh, by the way, it's your sting because I'm not supposed to be here. But the crime is that they're robbing the locker room, which is something I've never seen before.
There's a lot of things in this movie that I was like, I haven't seen that done before. Why don't more people do that?
Yeah, like robbing the locker room is kind of a great gimmick. Like, professional athletes, wear a lot of jewelry. Now, maybe hockey, not the most known for flamboyant jewelry wears, but they do steal a Stanley Cup ring, and they have there.
They do. But also, are those technically worth anything? Like,
oh yeah, they're like full of diamonds.
But to me, it's like if I stole the Mona Lisa, like who's gonna pay me money for the Mona Lisa? Like, what is it worth?
So I don't know that there's like that much black market value in the Stanley Cup rings, and also like I'm pretty sure nobody actually wears those to like games. That's like a thing you wear to like a reunion, basically.
Yeah.
But presumably, like even if you pried all the tiny little diamonds out of it, they have some value that way, right?
Oh yeah, I guess makes sense.
But the other stuff they're stealing is like necklaces and watches, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as long as you're not stealing what looks like a family heirloom, they probably got insurance.
Yeah. So they're snagging all these guys, jewelry and stuff. And then Axel rolls in and is like, where's the goalie gear? Coach is putting me in the third period.
I did think it was a little silly that these criminals don't know who Axel Foley is. Like,
well, so, okay, here's the thing. I think it's better that they don't know who Axel Foley is, because what cop do you know about? You know what I mean?
But, like, Axel Foley is Batman. Like, everybody knows who Axel Foley is in this world.
Does everybody know who Axel Foley is outside of Beverly Hills, where he made such a splash?
But it seemed like when he was driving around, he was like waving to everybody.
That's true. There was like a lot of Axel, yo, but
like fuck you, fair, Axel. Like those kids shooting off fireworks knew who he was.
Yeah, and then so I'm wondering if that's just like
you would think that if you were a crimer, that you would know the faces of the renegade cops that are probably just going to do what they want.
Yeah.
The loose cannon renegade cops, you're going to know who they are.
Maybe. You've partially convinced me. I had actually been the opposite way. That I was like, oh, I'm so glad this isn't just like, mother, I know who you are, and, pulling the gun kind of thing.
Yeah.
So at this point we're like, I don't know, 10 minutes in runtime, and my note here is like, my God, he slid right back into this. Like it feels really fresh. And again, like probably aided by the fact that I watched Beverly Hills Cop
a week ago.
Yeah. But it's just like, man, like, I would normally think if you were to watch, say, Ghostbusters and then one of the Ghostbusters Legacy sequels back to back, it wouldn't reflect that well on the new one. But this time it does.
Although,
I think.
You know what? Those have they're kind of in the Ghostbusters are kind of sharing the spotlight.
Yes,
like the kids,
true.
They're really pushing those kids in those sequels.
Yeah, that's a pass the torch sequel as well.
Whereas like Hocus Pocus 2 is not a great movie, but
right,
watching Kathy, Bet, and Sarah get right back in those witches costumes, and like it's like a switch flips, and you're like, oh, you're back, and you're doing exactly what you've been doing.
Yeah, I guess there's two flavors of Lega sequel, which is the pass the torch and the we're getting the gang back together. And this is the second kind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a funny little chase on like a golf cart that leads to
they do it's not the golf, it's the like the airport.
Yeah, it's like a beefed up golf cart. I don't know what you actually call it.
There's got to be a name for it. Yeah, the thing that you see people like getting ferried around an airport with like their luggage on the back.
Yeah,
like a pickup truck of a golf cart.
Yeah. And then they commandeer a snowplow. First tries it with the badge. The guy's like, absolutely not.
That's not a real thing, which it's not.
Yeah. And then he pulls a gun on him. The guy's like, I don't care this much about this snowplow. I've had it. But they hop in the snowplow, and I did notice a detail that they consistently keep throughout the movie, that Axel never wears a seatbelt. And I was wondering if that was going to be paid off. And I don't remember if that was a thing in the previous ones. But there are scenes later where the daughter is wearing the seatbelt and Axel is not.
I didn't notice that at all.
But the other thing that I thought was interesting is they have clearly two steering wheels in this truck, and I kept waiting for the moment when they were going to pay off the fact that there's two steering wheels in the truck, and then never comes up. And I wonder if there's like a cut sequence where they both
I never
try
noticed
to steer. Yeah, the other guy has a steering wheel in front of him. I thought it was very strange.
Maybe are snowplows usually a two-man job?
Well, I was wondering if it was so the snowplow driver can be sitting on the side where he's like actively pushing the snow and be able to monitor, and needs to be able to steer the car from both sides.
Okay, I can see that. I was wondering if maybe it was like one controls the like tilt of the plow.
That's also
that's why I was wondering maybe it's a 2-man. Like, I don't think there are 2 people in there usually, but I don't know.
Yeah. I wouldn't think that you'd have 2 people in each truck, but that your suggestion also makes a lot of sense of like being able to turn the plow left to right or move it up and down.
Like we're going down this street, so we need the tilt to be this way.
Yeah. Either one of those sounds plausible to me. I don't know the answer. But this snowplow chase is really fun. Now
they're on those 3-wheel things.
Yes, the ATV. They're on those like they're like spiders, I think is what they're called. The like
maybe they were big down beaches for a while, and then they became like city things, and then cities got mad at them. It's like a whole weird thing that's probably rooted in racism.
I mean, I have no doubt that you're probably accurate. There's also like. I thought there was a couple of 4-wheelers in the mix as well.
I thought they were. I thought they were all the 3-wheeler. It's 2 in the front, 1 in the back. Just because those are pretty like, I think they're pretty cheap compared to a car.
Yeah, they're priced more like a motorcycle.
Yeah, but they feel more safer. They feel safer than a motorcycle.
Yeah. So the snowplow gag is fun. There is a little bit of obvious that like. They're not like they never do an obligatory shot where you can clearly see Eddie and the other guy behind the windshield as the car is driving, which I found kind of funny. It's all cutaways.
I also think
which again, it's fine.
I think they kill a guy. Did you catch that?
It does seem like they kill a guy.
So they're like the 3-wheelers are going through a parking lot, and it's got the cement pylons with the chain dangling. 2 of the guys like duck underneath it. The third guy shooting behind him and gets clotheslined by the thing. Yes. You see him fall off, go ass over tea kettle. His 3-wheeler goes flying, and then it smash cuts to the snowplow going through that exact spot. And I was like, I don't see a body, but there was not enough time for the man to roll out of the way.
I thought the snowplow went right like. Plausibly could have avoided hitting him, but it's certainly honestly the chain probably killed him. He got hit directly under the neck.
I thought it was more chest. I thought it was more chesty, which isn't great.
I mean, okay, I'll give you it's 8 inches below the neck, but it's still gonna give you a whiplash, and you definitely see that helmet bounce off the pavement. Like I thought, there's a pretty good chance that dude was dead before the snowplow got near.
But it's possible that he got run over by a snowplow. Can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah. I like the bit where he's like, you got to call this in. And then we cut to the guy talking on the phone to his wife about how he's like on a chase with Axel Foley. Snowplow with Axel Foley. Yeah. Pretty good little bit of business there. Did you recognize this guy? I did not recognize this guy at all.
He looked vaguely familiar, but I think he was familiar in that like he's probably been in like AT&T commercials or something.
Yeah, that feels
He seemed commercial famous more than like movie famous.
So we get to like we're picking off these guys one by one. I think there were 3, and now we're down to the last one. And he goes down this alley, and this is my favorite part of the snowplow sequence because the snowplow is the exact width of the alley, which is full of trash and trash cans and dumpsters and stuff. Mm-hmm.
But it's got the plow in the front.
It's got the plow in the front, and so he just clears this alley, just. And
frankly, he did quite a bit of good in that sense.
It's a cleaner alley than it was at the beginning, although there is a huge pile of trash in the street now.
Well, maybe the city should fucking take out the trash. Maybe come pick it up.
I assumed this was like the night before trash day. Did you not? You thought this was?
I have no idea.
Trash. Okay. But the guy gets swept up in it. He's of course not dead because they're pretty careful not to kill these guys.
Yeah, he's just like bundled up in a bunch of garbage.
Which I thought was going to be like, oh, they're not going to kill anybody in the movie. And then later,
Gordon-Levitt. We have no problem killing people.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's the fucking Punisher in this movie.
He's John Wick.
Like, I am the law and you will feel my wrath is basically what he's doing.
Bruce Wayne trained him well. He was Robin.
I remember.
In the 11th hour. At 11:59:59, they were like, by the way, he's Robin. And we were like, let me leave.
I have to pee so bad. We get Paul Reiser here, and he's kind of going back and forth with Eddie. He is the chief.
The chief to me is the person with the biggest office, who's the most important in the police building.
Taggart is identified as
chief.
The chief. Paul Reiser is clearly in charge of at least this precinct, which maybe just makes him
again. I cannot bring myself to care enough about rankings and militarism. So the man who seems to be with the biggest office, who seems to be in charge of the floor, is the chief. Anyone who is not wearing the blue or black uniform is a detective, and anyone wearing a blue or black uniform is a cop. Those are the 3 words we're going to use to describe the people.
Wait, no, you got. I think you got that backwards. In uniform cop, out of uniform detective.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Anyone who is not wearing the black and blue uniform is a detective.
Okay.
So we have chiefs, detectives, and cops, and those are the 3.
Yeah.
The 3 police titles we're going to give.
And the thing with this, like, a frequent problem I have with legacy sequels is that they make characters into like real sad sacks. And Axel Foley's circumstances in this movie are not necessarily the happiest. Like, he's still on the beat, although it seems like that's where he wants to be.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have much of a relationship with his daughter, but like, I don't know, that kind of jives with the kind of person I've seen Axel be in the previous movies, that he's like kind of a dude who flies by the seat of his pants, and like maybe he
shouldn't have had a family. Like, he was not destined for a family because of the way he lives his life, which is fine. You can live a largely fulfilling life without a spouse and children.
Right. And also, you know, they don't ever get into the circumstances with Axel, although it does seem like they at least try to make their relationship worth. But like, if they had been like, yeah, this was like a oneer that became a permanent thing because the woman got pregnant and kept the baby, is like, yeah, I would buy that too if that was the way they decided to tell the story. They don't really. Do you remember?
Do you remember? Did he have a wife in the 3rd one, or was that a in between?
I don't have any memory of that, but I listened to a podcast about it when we decided not to do it, and they didn't mention a wife at all.
Okay, so this wife, he got married, had a kid, and presumably the wife died, because we don't hear shit about her.
I don't know if we get all the way to died, but it doesn't seem like the daughter has much of a relationship with the mom either.
Which seems weird.
Well, I would agree with you, except how do you bring it up without putting the mom in the movie, which is just like, I don't need that scene. Nobody wants that scene. I definitely don't want them getting back together.
Like mom's in London on business. I don't know. Give her some nebulous job.
Yeah.
She works in television or at a magazine. I don't know. Like, do the Hallmark vague job thing.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had a line or two referencing her, and it's possible, frankly, that there's a line or two referencing the mom that I just don't remember. To be clear.
I don't either, because all we know is that they did get divorced. Because there was like some mafia family after Eddie Murphy's family, so he sent them away to Beverly Hills, where his good friends would take care of them. Although at a certain point, why wouldn't you just move to Beverly Hills, Eddie?
Yeah,
you clearly do well there.
Yeah. It's like he should have clearly, in between movies 2 and 3.
The 3rd movie should have been he's living in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. At that point, let's get on with it. I will say, in terms of continuity, listening to that podcast did tell me that Taggart retires or has retired by part 3. And now, because he does very quickly be like, I was so bored. My wife was driving me crazy. I'm retired.
He was a late 90s Boardwalk t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. But he's of the right generation for that. So
yeah, I'm trying to lose 150 pounds, but I can't get divorced.
So
divorce is so expensive. That would be the punchline of that t-shirt.
I can't afford it. Yeah, yeah.
But I can't afford a divorce lawyer.
So Eddie and Reiser are going back and forth. He's like, Axel, you can't do this.
Did you see the old police chief's picture on the wall?
Yeah, I thought that was a nice little touch.
Yeah.
He dies in part 3.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was a really nice touch. But Reiser, is like, it's 2024, Axel. It's been 40 years. You can't do this shit anymore. You're, I guess, in kayfabe over 60.
Yeah, he was 22 in the first one. So he's 62.
Oh, is that they specifically say it? Okay.
He says you're not 22 anymore, and I feel like I remember in the first one that he says
that feels right.
He says that in the first one, I think.
Okay.
Also, he quit because the commissioner was mad that Axel did this, so he had to someone had to get fired.
Yeah, he falls on a sword, and it very clearly seems like Reiser is like, I was getting close to being done anyway.
I don't got a lot of runway left anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, it was very clearly him being like, look, man, this is it. Like, I was your shield, and the shield is gone. That is the end.
The shield got canceled.
Yeah, exactly. Eddie, of course, doesn't think this is going to stick, but Reiser's pretty adamant, like, no, man, like, I'm not going to be here anymore. No thanks.
They mention his daughter, and then we smash cut to a woman going into a prison, and I was like, I'm assuming this is his daughter.
Yeah. So apparently they're already making the fifth one, which I was like, oh, kind of a bummer, because this was a nice, like...
Yeah, I don't think you need a fifth one.
Yeah.
Unless it's a fully pass the torch sequel.
Who is he passing the torch to? Joseph Gordon-Levitt? That doesn't feel right.
And his daughter. I think it's going to... I think pass it to those two.
Like, she becomes a cop? Or
I don't think she needs to become a cop. I think she's like...
I think I just cracked
Go ahead.
it. Oh, say your thing, but I think I cracked it.
I was thinking that it's sort of like... I guess I was just going towards Vigilante, which, like, I was just describing the end of Birds of Prey when they set up the Birds of Prey. But I think she's more like, maybe she's a private eye. I think she would become a private eye. I don't think she would go to police academy, but she definitely would do like private eye because then Judge Reinhold can be her like introduction into the world of PIs.
That was exactly what I was going to say. What it's going to be is all of them.
He's her receptionist.
All of them join Rosewood Investigations.
Oh, I love that. That's better.
And it becomes Rosewood Foley Investigations because she changes her name from Saunders to Foley by the end, and it's like a big moment.
It is. No, it's Rosewood Investigations, and then at the end, she like moves, like opens a curtain to reveal that it's like Rosewood and Foley, and then that's the reveal that she changed her name.
Yeah. And that lets you get everybody in. Maybe Taggart gets kidnapped. And we have to get Taggart back, and that way John Ashton doesn't have to do too much.
Exactly. I love this.
He can mostly be tied to a chair.
Mm-hmm.
And
he can just be gruff and angry, tied to a chair.
Yeah. And when the cameras aren't rolling, they'll just have someone pour tea for it. Like, you help him drink the tea. They get the ropes off him.
Mm-hmm. I like this a lot. Because it could be Beverly Hills Cop Rosewood Investigations. And then that Rosewood Investigations can become the new moniker. Because it won't be Beverly Hills Cop anymore. And
then it becomes like a television series on Netflix, and then they get what they wanted all along, which is a television show instead of a movie.
Yeah, I like this plan because Eddie Murphy can be, because he even said himself, he was like, this was hard. Like, I'm not 20 years old anymore.
Yeah.
This is difficult. And like, more power to, like, it's like how people keep trying to get Robert Englund to be Freddy Krueger again. And he's like, I don't want to do, like, I am done spending 4 hours to get that glued to my fucking face. I am 70. Yeah. No.
Yeah. He did come up with an idea where he only has to put the makeup on for like a minute.
We had this exact conversation. And I'm remembering this now, so we should wrap it up because
I'm saying I think he's got to put it on for a couple minutes, but I agree.
Yeah. Just
also, if I'm being honest with you, it's the worst of those franchises, so maybe we just don't need any more Freddy Krueger movies. Maybe it was just that was his character.
You don't think you think Nightmare's worse than Friday?
Friday the 13th is my favorite of the franchises.
In terms of all, like, scope.
In terms of...
You watch all the Friday the 13th movies?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we've had this discussion before, and previously you agreed with me that, like, the worst Friday the 13th movie is like a C-, and the best Friday the 13th movie is a B+. So there's, like, very little deviation movie to movie.
But I feel like the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie is, like, an A-.
I disagree with. I'm not as big of a fan, but we'll talk about that
New
in
Nightmare.
October.
New Nightmare, I fucking love.
Well, we will put a pin in this discussion until October. How about that?
I'm just saying, yeah.
A lot of movies turn 40 this year, or 30. So,
they do.
Well, let's just...
Halloween is my favorite of the... Like, if we're just doing the first movie, it's Halloween. But if this the franchise, I would pick Nightmare.
Oh, that's new news. That is new information. Someone out there confirmed that I'm not losing my mind, because I feel like in the past we have agreed that Halloween best movie, Friday best franchise.
I don't know. I mean, Friday, I don't know. We'll save that.
This is an October conversation. We're having it too early. It's only July. Rosewood Investigations, what we were talking about. Yes. Okay.
Also, the idiot cops, they during the chase sequence. Well, last thing before we move on.
Yeah.
The snowplow sequence. The bad guys are on the three-wheelers, and these dumbass Detroit cops try to block everything by leaving, I don't know, half a car's width of space in between their cars. And it's like, no shit.
It does seem like a pretty easy problem to solve if you know where they're going.
Or if you, like, okay, if you know the suspects are on three-wheelers, don't leave gaps.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyways, Axel's daughter.
Great stunts in the falling off the three-wheelers, by the way.
Oh yeah,
the guy who gets in the chest is like a stunt person goes into a chain like and takes a real fall. Like, it all looks very good. Which is why I think I have a lot of delight in this movie. The daughter is talking to a guy who's been accused of killing a cop, and it's like such an over the top amount of evidence against this man that immediately to me I'm like, well, that's fishy.
Come on.
He has a trunk full of drugs and the murder weapon, and the dead cop is laying right there, and he's unconscious laying next to him. And it's like, what, did fucking Batman show up?
Also, so you're telling me you think that this guy was in the car with the cop while he was being driven somewhere, and he shot the driver? He shot and killed the driver of the car he was in.
Right. Well, was it the cop driving or the cop in the passenger seat?
No, I think the cop was driving because he said, "Okay, I had to grab the wheel."
Oh, okay.
And so it's like, so I know we pretend criminals are stupid people. They're not.
Yeah.
But you're telling me
some of them are.
Well, it's a half and half. But you're telling me you think this man shot his driver while they were driving? Why?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they not have waited till the car was parked?
Mm-hmm. Let's go to this park in this park.
Or just like, hey man, I want to get a hot dog. Pull over, pop. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he says that it's the cop who was undercover. He says that, he couldn't call, like his cell phone wasn't working, and he thought they were jamming the signal, and he tells the story of exactly what happened, but
it's, I have to say, like 5% too complicated.
It is.
The machinations of the plot in this movie overall is like a little bit too complicated, and I'm just like, you got it right that it's an 80s villain, and you got it right that like everything else is kind of on brand, but like this is just a little bit too many threads that I'm tugging on trying to keep straight here with this. Not too much, but just a little bit extra is what I would say.
That's fair.
She's like a very good lawyer, works for, fancy white shoe law firm, but is doing this case pro bono.
She says that they want to subpoena the financial records of the cop who was killed and was undercover. And
yeah, they make a court appearance.
And everyone gets mad about it. And they're like, well, he was clean. And I was like, okay, if he was clean, then who gives a shit? Give him what they want.
Right.
If he was clean, then why are you fighting it?
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's like, I know why Kevin Bacon is fighting, but Taggart is like, I trained the guy myself. And it's like, again, if you're sure you're right, what is the harm in proving it? Mm-hmm. Like, what, it's not like it puts his, and they're all like, it puts his family through extra stress. And like, not particularly.
No. Also, sucks to suck. Like,
also, if the guy is telling the truth, perhaps it helps you find the actual killer,
Mm-hmm.
This sequence is fantastic. These dudes in masks.
The parking lot. Oh, this is another one that I wrote. I was like, I've never seen this before. This is outside of Jurassic Park. Like,
yeah. There might be a similar gag in a Lethal Weapon before somebody like reminds us of that. So if that's true,
I haven't. I'm saying I haven't. I just comma the Macho Mandrew comma have not seen this on film before outside of like a Jurassic Park.
I would also agree
if it was in a Dark Knight, maybe, but I don't think so.
Even if it is in one of those movies, it's not something you see all the time, so it still feels kind of fresh. Like, much the same as the like robbing the locker room thing. Like, I have no doubt that there's some episode of some cop show that
watch Sudden Death be about them robbing a locker room. We just don't remember.
I just watched the trailer because I keep threatening to put Sudden Death on for my wife while we're drinking on a Friday night, and it's never streaming, so she keeps getting pardoned by the governor on that particular film. Although she does like Jean-Claude. Not my impression of Wilford Brimley in Hard Target. Stay tuned for Schlock Month sometime in the future when you will all get to hear all about that. Anyway,
her phone stops working, and you're like, "Oh shit!" The bad guys.
And you see the cell phone jammer too. The like little.
Oh, where did you see it?
It looks like two big plastic bricks this guy is holding in his hand as they're like running up to the car.
Oh, I didn't catch that. But
it looks like just some sort of gadgety thing. But
because they show it later. I didn't remember seeing it before. But a tow truck backs into her car, and they use one of those like terrifying Spark Factory cutters to cut the big metal things on the Jurassic Park gate.
Yes.
Or the Jurassic Park
fencing. An angle
fencing.
grinder, in case anybody out there needs to tell us. The tool is called an angle grinder, just in case anybody,
And because they have her hooked up, they just push her car over they say, drop the case and push her car over the edge and leave her there.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so scary. Like imagining being in this situation is just
a little too CGI, I gotta say. But I'm sure those for safety.
Yeah, although there really is a car out the window at one point. Like, they do actually dangle a car
I meant
out
more
of a thing.
when she's falling, and it's clearly just like an actress in like a car that's being shaken. Maybe it's tilted, but like they add a bunch of CGI like glass shatters, like glass pieces and stuff, and I'm just like, to me it detracts more than it adds.
Well, the other thing too is like, what would have been the harm in pouring some broken glass on the window as this actress was in this rig, right? What is the issue of just actually doing it as opposed to putting it in post?
Yeah, I don't know. Or have it go like not on top of her, but to the side. Like, she's in the driver's seat, so put it by the passenger seat. I don't know.
Right. Also, it's just rubber. Like, just dump it. Like, just dump it on her. Like, what the hell?
That's fair.
But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I thought this looked pretty great. The CGI thing honestly didn't notice the CGI thing you're talking about. I was too busy focusing on, is this actress really in the car? And I think I missed it because I was like, oh, is this going to be like no, they put her in some kind of rig.
The actress did a thing.
Yeah, for sure. So we smash cut to her getting like taken. She's in the back of an ambulance after this whole incident.
The big potato blanket.
Yes, the space blanket. Judge Reinhold rolls up, and he's wearing like a Guns N' Roses t-shirt and kind of a little bit casual wear, and it's kind of like, oh, why is he not in the cop getup or the detective getup? And then we learn shortly after this that he's left the force because he was sick of them not listening to him talking about this case because there's a dirty cop. And so he's basically telling her like, look, you're right, but there's way too much danger and it's just not worth putting yourself in this much danger for this. You know, your dad's worried about you.
Your father would never forgive me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's like, my dad. And he's like, look, I know you don't like the guy, but you're just like him. And that sets her off even worse. And the follow-up being, all right, miss, we're going to take you to the hospital. Nope, I'm leaving. He's like, that's what your dad would do right there. I really liked. It's hard to still play the like naive ingenue when you're 60, and I like that he doesn't necessarily do that, but he is still like a real optimist.
You can see that he is the 40-year later version of the guy we met in Beverly Hills Cop. You can see that there's traces of himself there. That he still like is a little idealistic, but a little jaded.
Yes. He's definitely become jaded, but hasn't lost his sense of optimism, I feel.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Axel's driving the same car, by the way, which I didn't clock until this scene where we see him drive up, but it's the same car he's been driving in all of them.
She says, don't call my father. He immediately calls her dad.
Yeah.
And says, I'll pick you up from the airport. I'm at an impound lot where the car that the murder happened was at. And I'm like, oh, you're going to die. Please. I was like, please don't kill Judge Reinhold like before he gets here.
Yeah. I thought they were about to kill Judge Reinhold, and I was going to be like, you sons of bitches. Why wouldn't you kill John Ashton? He's 10 years older.
Well, also, I was like, they like show him get surrounded, and then they cut to black, and I was like, if they kill him off screen, that's a lot worse. That's like 10 times worse.
Yeah. But I thought we were going to get basically a repeat of the scene in the hallway from the first movie.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Because they basically, like, in that first movie, they have that really great setup where in 10 minutes you feel enough for this guy that when he gets killed, it's awful. In this case, we've got 40 years of Judge Reinhold, plus the fact that like we just maybe I'm speaking only for this podcast, but like we just like Judge Reinhold.
Yeah,
he brings a nice presence to things. I'm annoyed he's not in more stuff. He's a great spice.
Well, apparently he had a 6.5 year hiatus. This was his first thing in 6.5 years.
Yeah, I can't imagine that was entirely chosen by Judge Reinhold. Like, what the hell? We got nothing we can put Judge Reinhold in? He can't he can't do like a regular guest spot on some television shows. It just feels like it's like,
Or
again, I like this.
Or have him be in the revolving door of guest stars on things.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I thought you meant like put him on like he's like, you know, Ted Mosby's uncle who shows up in town once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great use of a Judge Reinhold.
But I meant more like
couldn't Judge Reinhold have done?
He does one episode on New Girl, one episode on.
I'll take that too, but I just like, why wasn't Judge Reinhold in a 2-ep arc on Brooklyn Nine-Nine at some point? You know what I mean?
That would have been great. Honestly, he could have played himself, because I feel like oh god, Jake Peralta would have lost his mind.
Yeah,
it would have been a great foil for the like Jacqueline Saint Renard nonsense where Captain Holt
guy
is like obsessed with this violinist, and they're like, no one gives a shit about this person, and then Captain Holt would be like, oh, he's a judge, and they'd be like, no, you know, his name is Judge. I don't understand.
Which
circuit court is he a part of?
Yeah. Yeah, no, again, perfectly fine to have a two-ep arc where Judge Reinhold, or if he doesn't play himself, Judge Reinhold played like some muckety-muck in the New York Police Department for 2 episodes. You couldn't have figured that out? What are we doing here?
Or he should have just been their judge, like their go-to judge whenever they needed to put them in court.
Yeah, do the Clerks cartoon joke. He was game for it then. The reason why he goes by Judge, by the way, is apparently when he was a baby, he was really stern-looking, and they just started calling him the Judge.
That's adorable.
The family did. Yeah.
Some babies just have those faces.
Yeah, so he did. He was just like a real stern-looking baby. So, yeah, I was terrified he was going to get shot in the back of the head here, and I was going to be like, you motherfuckers, he got one scene, which he only gets a couple more than that, but at least he doesn't get shot in the back of the head.
Yeah. We get an updated Beverly Hills driving montage, and it's like the perfect updated Beverly Hills driving montage from 1984 to 2024.
It is. I also love the bit with there's like a cop who's an extra when he's like trying to get to her from the airport right before the Rent-A-Wreck, and I'm trying to remember what the sequence was.
I don't remember this one.
Okay, sorry. I also that they name dropped Rent-A-Wreck kind of cracked me up, that he's like driving a piece of shit. So that he's driving a piece of shit in Beverly Hills because he didn't drive all the way out there.
Is that a real thing? Rent-A-Wreck? Is that a thing?
I've only ever passed it like on the sides of highways, like I've never seen it at places where I have been near rental cars, like at a train station or a airport. But I've passed by things that say Rent-A-Wreck, and it's just like budget friendly car rental. I assume it's for situations where like people's cars in the shop for a week and they need to rent something inexpensive to kind of hold them over.
Yeah.
And they, that's probably the primary use, or just people needing to rent one for a month or whatever. But yeah, the flyby is really great.
A lot of tiny dogs.
A lot of tiny dogs. I liked they included a woman in a burqa, but the burqa was Louis Vuitton.
Uh-huh. That was fun.
I thought that was like kind of a neat thing. A couple of people online have pointed out that like Beverly Hills doesn't have like a mystique in the way that it did in 1984 for being like a haven for weirdos, rich weirdos, which I guess I agree with. Like there's a lot more rich weirdos everywhere, but I thought this does a nice job of it. I will say the one thing I think could have been used in this movie, and I understand completely why they didn't for a number of reasons, but the first one kind of has the fish out of water thing because Axel's a Detroit cop and he's in Beverly Hills. And I think we could have done a little bit here where it was like Axel's a man out of time rather than a man out of place.
Kind of like the Dan Aykroyd detective one we did.
Dan Aykroyd detective.
Yes. I think it was Dan.
Yeah. Dragnet. Yeah. Dragnet. Yeah. Yeah, like not full Dragnet because I think that becomes too much. But like,
yeah, it's not the Brady Bunch, but
yeah. The problem with this idea, I think, is that you end up having like the daughter explaining what TikTok is to him, and like that is not what I want.
Need that. I don't need the Ryan Murphication nonsense.
Right. But like, I don't know, like maybe he orders a drink that feels really anachronistic or something like that. Like you could have played
Frankly,
little
have
bit
him go to a
with
coffee
that.
shop and get a hot coffee, and everyone's like, hot coffee?
Yeah.
Like something subtle, something little like that. That's like doesn't require.
I just want a coffee. They're like, oh, well, we have, and he's like,
iced?
They're like reading off all the blends. We have this and this and this. He's like, I just want a damn coffee or whatever. Yeah, something like that. But like this character is cool, and if you do that, you lose a lot of the cool points. And two, I don't know if Eddie Murphy wants to play this character as anyway uncool, which again I'm kind of fine with.
I don't necessarily think it has to be
cool.
uncool as much as it is like he's a 60-year-old,
right,
in a world of 20-year-olds. Like,
right,
it's less that like he's lame and more just like not 100% with the time.
Sure. He goes to Judge Reinhold's place, Billy's place, and it's getting tossed. Like he sees that the door has been forced. And I love this bit of business with the two goons here, where he's like, "Oh, you guys are taking forever." And he's like, "Who are you? Who sent you?" And he's like, "Who do you think sent me?" And they give the name, and he's like, "No, it was the Pope," or whatever he says. And it's like, oh man, the classic like business, but done in like a new way.
It's really good. He's
fun.
good at it. He's still got it.
Did you notice that one of these guys is one of the like supernatural regulars?
He thought so.
Very different. Yeah, he looks very different in this movie. But I have his name written down later, and I'll get to it. But I don't want to flip through.
One of them looked like discount Halloween store Chaz Palminteri, I think.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
I think it's who I'm thinking of.
So he steals the sheet of paper out of the diary that kind of tells him where Judge Reinhold most recently was while they're not looking. And then the third guy shows up, and then we have this whole big kerfuffle with them.
We needle drop neutron dance?
We needle drop neutron dance, and he runs to his car, which is actively being ticketed by a meter maid, and he starts trying to, get her to stop what she's doing and help him as these like three guys. Because I forget, he does a great bit where he grabs the fire extinguisher and uses it to get out of this jam, which I thought was clever.
If in a pinch, do it.
Yeah. Well, especially when the alternative is like shooting three people in the head, which Joseph Gordon-Levitt seems very okay with, but he ends up stealing the meter maid's little tuk-tuk vehicle, and she is actively pepper spraying him while he's driving it, which is a pretty good little gag. It's a little close to a whoa, but it doesn't go quite there.
Do you think that neutron dance should have been the needle drop for the not Zamboni, the snowplow, because it already was a needle drop for like a giant big rig? Like, do you think it should have been for two big truck sequences?
I think that they purposefully do it with the small vehicle because of that, actually.
That could be. I was just curious because it was also the first, basically the opening. We get the heat of the night, or
the heat is on.
The heat is on, and then
heat is on.
And then Eddie Murphy's Sting, and then Neutron Dance giant car chase. And I was like, I kind of would have I think I might have liked seeing that, but
okay, yeah. I mean, I would have been fine with either one. There's a couple of nice driving bits here. The car driving down the stairs is fun, and it only works because it's this weird little vehicle.
Yeah, this tiny little thing.
And it's sort of like weaving in and out of the traffic and also through the like turnouts and stuff as these guys are chasing them.
So I know police officers get pepper sprayed like when they early in their career, like it's one of like the part of training things. You get pepper sprayed and tased and all that stuff. Is that like a renewing your license thing? Like, do you get pepper sprayed every 5 years or like?
I doubt it. There is a joke in some other thing I saw where the guy had been pepper sprayed so much that it didn't really faze him anymore. And I was waiting for that joke here because he shrugs off pepper spray with just like, he doesn't even.
That's why I had to ask. I was like, was he like, I just got sprayed last week or whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's just a movie. It would have been honestly funnier if she tased him and he like ripped the things out while he was getting tased so he could get away.
Yeah. It only makes me stronger.
Yeah. So he crashes and he gets arrested by two
his
women
daughter
driving No, his daughter doesn't arrest him.
His real daughter, Eddie Murphy's real daughter.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, Eddie Murphy's real daughter is the one cop that is one of the cops.
Oh shit! Okay, nice. That is a good nepotism right there.
That's the exact level that I want.
Yeah.
She's not important. She's just there. Hanging out with her dad, doing some scenes. That's it.
He calls them the Lego cops, which I thought was very funny. They're driving an electric BMW vehicle.
Are those real? Is that a real Beverly Hills Cop car with a suicide door?
I have no idea, but I thought it was great. It was perfect for Beverly Hills cops.
Oh yeah. He also, as soon as he crashes his little meter car, gets swarmed by tourists and people taking TikToks and Snapchats and pictures and videos.
Yeah. Much like it's basically the scene from the first one where he gets thrown out the window, except nobody had a phone back then.
Yeah, exactly.
but it draws a big crowd. So we hear that the chief is Taggart, even though he retired in 94. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is obviously our new young guy in this movie. And so he starts, giving Eddie some shit. He's got the file and he's like, you were here in 84 and 87 and then not so successfly in 94, which is like a wink, Beverly Hills Cop 3. We know you guys don't like it.
Yeah, apparently Eddie Murphy hates that movie.
Well, so the podcast I was listening to was talking about it, and the research I did afterwards is like, it's much more serious than the other ones because he was trying to sort of be an action star, and so it just has a different tone, which nobody cared for, and also it was just ridiculous. But friend of the show and my real life friend Caitlin was cut out of that movie. She was an extra.
Oh shit! I think you told me that.
Yeah, so it's a very memorable scene in Beverly Hills Cop 3 when he goes to buy a ticket and they're like, it'll be $35, and he's like, $35, I can't believe how expensive a theme park is, which in hindsight, a hilariously small number in today's money, although that's probably $70 now, which is still cheap for a theme park. But yeah, she was like right on the edge. She was like, Eddie Murphy was only like 10 feet away from me, though I didn't talk to him or interact in any way. Yeah. And then she was really sad she had to give back her costume shirt because it was like a fake, it's not Wally World, but it's whatever they call it in
whatever
that
their
movie.
fake theme park is.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
And she was like, I really wanted to keep it, but like obviously they made us give it back and there was no way for me to steal it. She was in the drama club at school and they bust all the kids down to be extras.
Oh, that's an awesome little thing.
In drama class
Where was
at
this?
school. Yeah. She grew up in California. So it was filmed partially at Knott's Berry Farm and partially, I forget what the other park was. I asked her about Six Flags and she said no. So it's a different one out there. Yeah.
Well, it's like my 8th grade theater director, who's like just a friend of the family now. She was in Lady in the Water, and
oh right, yeah,
she has a very distinct like big curly hair. And there's a scene where I'm like, that's her. Like she's not facing the camera, but I recognize the back of that head.
Yeah. So Eddie is handcuffed to the chair. He's going back and forth with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, how do you know Chief Taggart?
Yeah.
And it's like, wouldn't that be in the file?
Isn't that? Yeah, you're looking at his file. Eddie slips the cuffs and puts them on the table and says like he had a misspent youth. And
Eddie Murphy's still very funny and charming this whole time. Like,
yeah.
Still killing it.
So he's like, he puts the cuffs on the table and he's like, book me or let me talk to Taggart. So that he's like, all right, I'll book you. So he calls his daughter and she hangs up on him immediately. He calls her back. She hangs up immediately. He calls the third time. She's like, what are you not getting? And he's like, listen, this is about Billy. He's in danger. And the daughter's like, fine, I will listen to you.
Yeah. Well, you would think that the daughter just got dangled out of a parking garage and said, Judge Reinhold, don't tell my dad. And the next day, her dad's calling her a lot. Like, what do you think? Like, use your brain. Right. You're a lawyer.
Yeah.
You're smart. Yeah.
Well, I think she thinks Judge Reinhold called her dad. And now she's like, I don't want to fucking deal with you. I told him not to call you.
But it seems more she's like, you don't call me, so we're done talking. It didn't seem like, I don't want to talk about what just happened. It seemed more just like general. So she comes up and Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his daughter Jane have a history. Thing. There's history there. So so Copeland is like, nope. Taggart is like, I need to see you in my office, and he introduces him to professional villain Kevin Bacon.
Yes,
who basically like as like a teen and 20-something was a hero, and then I guess around 30 was just like, no, I got evil face.
I mean, look. What is it that they say in The Dark Knight? You either
live a hero, or you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, or flip that.
Yeah. No, that's right. Bacon plays a good bad guy and a good kind of maniac creep. I don't think he's big enough here. I want him 10% bigger. I think
if he's bigger, it risks being cartoonish, and this isn't necessarily a cartoonish movie.
I just want him doing more coke and yelling at more people.
I think at the end he should have been doing more coke.
I wanted like one or two more scenes where like we, the audience, already know Kevin Bacon is the bad guy, but the movie hasn't 100% figured it out. And he's like yelling at some minions and like, how is it that you two can't kill a fucking 60-year-old? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just wanted like just 5% more. That's all.
He also did a really good job. He was in They/Them, which was the queer horror that Peacock.
Yeah, I never watched it, but
very enjoyable in terms. It's very satisfying in terms of. I mean,
okay.
Obviously,
I heard pretty negative reviews of that. You're the first person I've talked to that really liked it.
I can see what I didn't think it was some like magnum opus, obviously, but it was cool to see queer cinema like that. Also, were they queer reviewers or were they like Roger Ebert or Dread Central?
Just the general populace.
Yeah, well, I mean, it might not be for them.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, it sounds like it might not be for me.
Yeah, it's very like steeped in what it is. It is about a queer conversion camp and
right. No, I thought the premise was like that premise. I thought was very cool.
The fact that you're supposed to say slash in the title, like that's the best part. It's not they. It's they slash them, not they them.
Yeah. I did not know that until you just said it.
Yeah, I was like, that's a fun little oomph.
So we're in the car with Eddie and Jane, and he's not wearing a seatbelt here. And the reason why I noticed it is because I thought they were going to do a joke where when Eddie doesn't wear a seatbelt in the snowplow or his piece of shit car, it doesn't matter. But now that he's in a modern car, it's going to be like, bing, 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 bing.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Bing, bing. And so that's the kind of like man out of time stuff I was looking for, where it's just like, I don't need him to look like a goon. I just want him to like if he won't wear a seatbelt in a modern car, it should be annoying. Like he should be jamming the seatbelt in behind him or something, you know?
Yeah, like he should be talking with his daughter while the beeping is occasionally happening, being like, "Would you? Yeah, you got a fancy car and it's beeping at you for no reason." And she's like, "No, it's because you don't have your seatbelt on, idiot."
Yes, yeah. That kind of stuff I think would have fit the spot in this where he doesn't fit in Beverly Hills. It's like now he doesn't fit in the decade or whatever. But again, not a big thing. Something I had thought of.
Yeah. So they go to the impound lot where
this is like one of my favorite sequences.
This would work on me. Like I know this would work on most actors, and including me.
Yeah, but it's great that like I like that he figures it out, and I have some quibbles with the whole thing with the daughter, but we can talk about that. But like, she also can do this stuff because like she has seen her dad do this stuff, and clearly she like uses this to her advantage as a lawyer, it seems like, right? Like that she is able to ingratiate herself with people and has very good people skills, all that stuff. But them working this guy over, immediately getting him on board is so much fun.
Yeah, they pretend they're casting agents, and he sees the headshot on the wall, it's so well done.
Yeah. My one quibble with this, though, is he's like, I played blah, blah, blah number 4 in Jupiter Ascending. And he's like, oh, I thought I knew you from that. And the daughter goes, oh, what happens in Jupiter Ascending? Like calling him out, putting him on the spot.
That was annoying.
And I was like, well, don't you also want to get this information? Like, why are you trying to fucking sabotage it? Like, what are you doing now? And then one line later, she's back in and on the game and is like helping. And I was just like, this doesn't make any fucking, like, from a filmmaking standpoint. Yeah, it's just like either she's doing that or she's not, but don't do that. If you want this information, you need what he's doing to work. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I'm not like, it's like I'm not mad at the character. I'm mad at like a bad, like that slipped through between drafts. Clearly, like just cut that out.
Yeah. So they leave. They go to the impound lot, and I think it's weird that it just has like a little sticker on the front that says like evidence, and it's not like police tape sealed. Like, wouldn't they do that just like to show that there's not been tampering?
So I think what they do is like process the vehicle, and then once it's processed, it's just held. Like they don't, like they have done a thorough examination for fingerprints and blood testing and all of the hair and all those samples, and it's like they do a huge, because I feel like I've seen this on cop shows. Again, who the hell knows how accurate it is, but it's like they thoroughly scour a thing, and then it's like eventually they got to give you your car back, or they have to let you go back into your house or do that. So there's like a really intense search. And
but with the house, it's usually they have the paper. It's like when they tape hotel room doors on like like school field trips and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, so if this seal's broken,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, because there's always a scene in the movie where someone like cuts the tape to get into their own house.
Yeah.
I agree, but they find that there's a camera in this car, and then they find a tracker on their own car. Eddie asks her for a mirror, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he uses his cell phone.
He does one of those little girly mirrors, and I was like, it's a compact. Yeah. And I was like...
So that's what actually got me thinking on this line of like man out of time stuff, because it's like she should have been like, no, I just use my phone. And he's like, what? And then she hands him the phone on selfie mode.
Or her saying that makes him go, oh, you know what? You're right.
Yeah. Either of those things works.
Because he clearly has an iPhone.
But yeah. I will drop this thread, but that is what
he's
I was
a good
thinking,
guy.
just like little stuff. Yeah, that's right. Only good guys use iPhones. So he finds the tracker, and her car's a convertible. He has her get close to a school bus, and he slaps her on the back of a school bus, which I thought was pretty good.
Which, I feel like could endanger children potentially.
Probably, yeah.
But also,
I assume they're not going to just shoot at where they think the tracker is.
Well, no, but these two dangerous men are now trailing a school bus.
There's not like a third guy with a bazooka in the back seat. It's like, let me at him, boys. I got him.
But he also doesn't get it under the bus. He just fully on the back.
No, it's right on the fucking back.
In plain view of anyone behind the bus.
He doesn't even put it on the bumper of the bus, which is also black. He puts it on the yellow part, and the tracker is like a black box.
Also, you were right about LoJack. It is the opposite of hijack. I misremembered.
No, I literally read that on the Wikipedia to you. That wasn't a guess.
Well, you had said that, and I said I thought it was also like location something, and you said maybe it's a acronym. It's not. I, for some reason, have a weird memory of it being like, oh, it is the low is location. I couldn't remember anything else, but I was misremembering things. There's
a good bit with the kids on the school bus giving the guys who are tracking them the finger, just being rowdy kids. I love a random day to night drive, which is like a very common movie transition and doesn't. I feel like that happens like very rarely in my real life, but all the time in movies where it's like full daylight and then they pull into a place and it's dark.
It's not nearly as egregious as the Golden Gate Bridge in X-Men 3.
Or the one in the Dark Knight that everybody forgets because they use a tunnel to do it, but they drive into that tunnel in full daylight, and when they come out the other side of that tunnel, it is dark, and it's like, how long is that fucking tunnel?
That's true, but for me, the Golden Gate Bridge is always the most egregious because Magneto and all his mutants lift the Golden Gate Bridge in broad daylight, move it to Alcatraz, and put it down at nighttime.
Yeah,
and nowhere in that time were a large squadron of forces call
right.
Who was asleep at the job?
Yeah.
So they go to a club. They follow the guys who are trailing them to this social club. And he's like, I'm going to talk my way in. And he starts to, and clearly the guy's not having it. And she jumps in and helps out. I was like, yeah, more of this, please.
Right. And I to be clear, I like that stuff a ton. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Again, because she was fucking with him before and now she's in twice in a row. And it's just that makes that other one stick out to me so much. I know it's a stupid thing to get caught on. We get Kevin Bacon here basically caught being the villain, and they fully know it but can't necessarily say it, and he just admits to breaking the law basically.
But, there's no recordings, so...
Yeah. I thought it was interesting to know that bacon was cooked this early in the movie.
We like it crispy. Cook it longer, make it crispy.
I was pretty proud of that joke when I wrote it down. I'm not going to lie.
It's a good one.
We get into the car after he basically is like, I used these goons to solve this problem because the cops couldn't do it, and they're like, okay, well he's clearly a problem. And then they get in the car and they're going back and forth and having a real father-daughter fight, and he's like, look man, we both messed this up. And I was like, oh man, buddy, come on, buddy. Axel, you fucking dingus. Which thankfully she's like, you were the parent. You are the one who is the problem in that scenario, not the child, which the parent's always the parent. Which I thought was good.
Does he say it now or later? I do like what he says. I don't remember when he says it, but I'll say it now. He goes, I've only been a dad as long as you've been a daughter. And I was like, that's also a really interesting point about parenthood that you never think about.
Yeah.
It's when I was in college at one point, we were talking, I was like, yeah, I remember asking my parents questions when I was a kid. And I'm now that I'm I don't know, 10 years younger than they were, I'm like, how did I expect them to know any of that information?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's easier now because you can just Google things.
Yeah, you can Google things. But when you're a kid, you assume that your parents know every single thing in the world. And it's well, no.
Yeah. They don't necessarily. I did have a legitimate, almost Axel Foley laugh at he gets out of the car. He doesn't do it in this movie, and he doesn't do it anymore at all. And apparently he stopped when everyone's impression of Eddie Murphy was the laugh, and he was just like, that's it, it's done.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah. But they play Axel F in a minor key, and it's not the sad, slow movie trailer version. It's just
That's what I mean. It's way more subdued and not in the bad way. It's just like it doesn't sound aggressively synthy. It sounds like good movie score.
Yeah, but it's like the sad version here as he walks into the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I really like this because at this point I was like a little tired of the repeat gags, and so not that it's like, and I'm not talking about like the fact that Judge Reinhold's in the movie, it's just like the repeating bits and business from the previous ones, and I thought the stuff with the daughter was really good, so he starts to go like, I'm Jacques da 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 from Bon Appetit. You know what? I'm tired. Can I just have a room? And she's like, yeah, it's $900.
And they do the look again of it like, I love Beverly Hills.
Yeah. So is this
he follows the paper that he stole from Rosewood's office to this shipper and then lies his way into Jane's office. And then we see Joseph Gordon-Levitt go into Taggart's office and be like, hey, sir, I think we're still looking at that case. And it's like, I kept being like, if Taggart's crooked, I'm mad. Like, that's...
Yes, same.
Don't do him dirty
same.
like
That's
that.
my literal note. Yeah, it was like, don't make Taggart the fucking villain of this. Like, we don't need that. It's completely unnecessary. Also, this is just a reference for like 4 people out there.
You already got a side of bacon. Eat the bacon.
Taggart sounds remarkably like former professional wrestler Diamond Dallas Page. Like, they have a very similar quality to their voice, both in pitch and graveliness. And I kept chuckling at that when Taggart would talk. That's a reference for 3 people. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is this when he takes the badge and... No, because he has his
Not
gun.
yet. He shows him the hidden camera, and he's like, will you at least look at this, sir? And he's like, it's not standard issue, blah, blah, blah. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to do my job.
Yeah. So he follows Eddie and Jane in their car, and he sees that there's this group of gangsters coming after them. The cartel.
I genuinely thought it was Danny Trejo and fake face tattoos for a second.
It did for a second. And also, like, you know, he's in every movie. So
exactly. Well, I was also like, why would you cover up Danny Trejo's face?
Yeah.
That's what you pay money for. That's what we're coming for.
So they get boxed in by the cartel in like a Rose van, and Eddie pulls Jane out of the car, and they're kind of hiding, and he's like, all right, like, I'm going to pop up, and when I do, you run away. Like, he's very clearly probably going to die here, but, you know, let his daughter get away. And just before he's about to pop up, there's 2 gunshots, and these dudes go down. They're just executed. He shoots them square in the back of the head.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is John Wick.
Yeah. And then Eddie stands up with the gun and is like, oh, it's pretty good shooting. And he's like, yeah, I put a lot of time into the range or whatever.
They killed my dog.
They have. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is when we learn that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the fucking Punisher.
So they Axel and Taggart fight, and then Taggart and Bobby fight, and then Taggart
there is a nice bit where Axel and his daughter, she thinks he doesn't remember when her birthday is and how old she is.
Yeah.
And right after the gunfight, he turns to her and he's like, your birthday is this and you're this many years old.
Because also, like,
you know,
he's in his 60s.
Yeah, man. Like, it's like he probably has to think about it.
Yeah, it's not going to come right away. So then Taggart suspends Bobby, and I was like, he really better not be crooked. Don't you do this to me.
I will say, John Ashcroft, his hair dye he's hair dyed within an inch of his life, but as a performer, he's still hanging pretty good here.
Yeah, for sure. But I was like, movie.
I just called him John Ashcroft. That's not his name. John Ashton. I kept doing that. Ashcroft is a politician. John Ashton. I probably did that the whole episode.
I was like, he's filling out all the boxes. He's checking all the boxes for I'm a crooked cop in a movie.
100%.
Like,
suspending the detective who's getting it right is like, fuck, no.
Yeah. He's friends with Kevin Bacon. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So here we get one of two great sequences in this movie where it's just like you just drop the right spice in and you get a nice fun scene and then everybody moves on. We see the car roar up with the license plate PWR.
You hear Milkshake by Khalees as a convertible pulls up.
I mean, it feels like a song that Serge would still like. 20 years
I
later.
still like that song. Like,
yeah. But it's PWR SRG, and of course it's time for Sarge.
Sarge.
We get some really nice business with him being like, these two are so nice. They're such a good couple. What do you think, Eddie? And like, you know, going back and forth together.
Serge can't pronounce Bobby's last name. It's Abbott.
Right.
Abbott.
But yeah,
it's the same bit they do in the Pink Panther movie.
Yeah. But it's like, this character worked really well in the 2 scenes in the first movie. I don't know how much he's in the subsequent ones because I haven't rewatched, but I know he's definitely in at least one of those. And it's just like, yeah, man, it's like, you'd let me see Surge for a minute and then we move on. It's not like you didn't make the whole movie out of the Surge, which I feel like is a problem in many legacy sequels.
Don't need Surge to die. I don't need, like, Surge as a villain. I just let him show up, be weird European.
And also, it's like, he moved into real estate. Logical second act for that guy.
Yeah, 100%.
And then it's like, we need to get into this house. I know a guy who can probably make that happen. And he does that. And then that's it in the movie. It's like, I'm on a case with Axel Foley. I helped you out. I'm so excited. And that's it. Like
frankly, the fact that he's not, like, also a DJ.
Yeah. That also would have made a lot of sense. But, like, we don't have him later.
I'm an out dealer, real estate agent, and DJ.
Later, we don't have Surge.
Or maybe he's a realtor. There's a difference, apparently. I don't know what the difference is between realtor and real estate agent.
Maybe that realtor means you have a license and real estate agent means you do not yet.
I thought licensed real estate agent was... I don't know. I just know that scene. There's a scene in Modern Family where Gloria goes... Someone calls Phil a real estate agent and she goes, he's a realtor. There's a difference somehow. And I'm like, that's how I feel about it.
Maybe one is copyrighted by one agency.
Oh, could be.
Really great bit with Nasim Pedrad here. Again, like
she's a nice swinging for the fucking fences.
Yeah, she's very funny. I love the line. My kid is a loser. He's only 4, but you can tell. He wears glasses and everything. It's just
I genuinely wonder if they gave her a script. If they were just like, you're a real estate agent showing this house to a couple,
right? Even if they did, I have to imagine, like, part of what made Beverly Hills Cop so good is improv with Eddie Murphy. And I saw a really short interview on Letterboxd where Joseph Gordon-Levitt talked about Eddie Murphy starts, like, doing his thing. So it wouldn't shock me at all if the two of them just started, like, throwing curveballs at each other to see what would happen. And, like, some magic came out of it. Because it's very funny. I actually thought she was going to start hitting on him. Once, like,
I fully did too. I was waiting for that.
And I thought that was going to be kind of a funny thing where he's, like, kind of flirting with this woman in front of his daughter in order to get information.
Or I just wanted her to start flirting, like, with every, like...
Sure, yeah.
Realize it's Surge, she can't hit on him. Go for Joseph Gordon-Levitt, realize he's married. Go for this one. Go for Axel Foley, because he's not attached and isn't gay.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous Greek pool in the back that Axel...
It is.
And he climbs the fence to what someone online said was Victor Maitland's house from the first one, and I don't think that's true.
That seems preposterous. People also are claiming that in the cameo at the end of the movie from Christopher McDonald is him playing Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore, and I don't like. It doesn't make any. He doesn't do anything like Shooter McGavin. People are like confirming that he is playing Shooter McGavin. He doesn't do anything Shooter McGavin-esque in that sequence.
He's just playing golf.
He's
just playing golf and angry.
Right. Anyway, I wrote down AC/DC and Legacy sequels, and I have absolutely no idea what I was talking about. Is there an AC/DC needle drop here?
I don't think there is.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there could be. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, someone online said that was Victor Maitland's house, and I was like, I just watched this movie a week ago. I really don't think that's Victor Maitland's house.
And also, like, what would the fucking point of that be? Like, well, like that just seemed like
that would be a Barbasol can. Like,
right,
come on,
that's so insular. Yeah, that fucking part in Jurassic World. Ugh. How would he have that?
Yeah, how did he get that? Because we watched you get covered in mud.
Right.
Also, why would he take it? Like, what is the fucking purpose?
Right.
They're all dead now. There's only 12 hours of coolant or whatever.
It would have been rusted out and gross. Anyway. That is bad legacy sequeling.
It is. Although that is the one that has Laura Dern and everyone.
Oh, I remembered what my AC/DC point was. I had, like, a whole thing I was cooking here where, I feel like often artists, like, grow and change over time, and this music and movies are not really the same beast, and so this is kind of a weird analogy, but, like, most of the time bands over time experiment artistically and, like, come up with stuff that their fans don't like as much. AC/DC, on the other hand, has basically been making the same album continuously since 1981. Every album of theirs sounds exactly like every other album of theirs. They put out the same exact
brand of rock. They still put out new music?
It has been a while, but if you pulled up the most recent AC/DC album and played it, you'd be like, this sounds like leftover tracks from the soundtrack to Maximum Overdrive. See our previous episode.
The way you said AC/DC and the first thing my brain went was, Who Made You?
Yeah. Who made who? Yeah, it's like all of their stuff sounds the same. And so it's like, do you try to change and grow and be interesting, or do you just keep doing the thing that has always worked for you? And like most artists choose to change and grow. And I feel like if you at least like stay within the parameters when you're making your legacy sequel, you at least are like, well, you're giving me more of the flavor that I like, you know?
Yeah. Change a little bit. You don't all be Taylor Swift and have different eras.
Right. It's all about fucking vibes is my thesis.
Yeah.
And AC/DC is a band that's like, we have a vibe and we only live in that vibe. And I feel like if you're going to make a legacy sequel, you should live in the fucking vibe.
I agree.
So they get the information they need to get here about this house and Kevin
Axel
Bacon
has taken pictures of like the car and stuff.
That's right. There's paint chips on the car that match Billy's car. And there's some other piece of evidence that ties it to Billy's car.
Who
wasn't it? Billy's car?
Who's Billy?
Billy Rosewood.
No, it's the dead cop.
Oh, right. Sorry. You're right. And so
there's like pictures on his phone that he took after sneaking in and taking photos. Yes. His daughter goes, "Well, I'm done," and she's like, I just need to provide reasonable doubt for my client." And I was like, I don't think any of this is admissible in court, so
no,
not gonna matter for one fuck for your client,
right?
So, and he's like, well, he and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are like, well, no, we gotta, finish. This isn't done. And she's like, it was never about me. And I was like, no, it was, but also your uncle and probably guardian for a while, is missing, and you don't seem that concerned about it. And again, what the fuck do you think this is the end? End of what? You have photos that your dad took when he broke into a house. You think that's going to go in court?
Right.
What? You show me a judge.
I don't think he technically broke in, but you are correct.
No, he did. He walked. He
wasn't the door unlocked?
I think that it's still unlawful entry.
I don't know if you're there for an open house. I'm not sure how that works.
He went across the street. He went next door.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. Yes. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. And they have this big fight here where it's like, you only came for the action, but now, he's like, we're into this too. And like, I really struggle with this in movies because like a real human being can feel the way that Jane feels in this movie and often does feel the way that Jane feels in this movie.
Yeah.
But like, movies don't let us into inner monologue unless you're a really bad movie with a lot of voiceover or something. And so it's like, I only can see what she's doing on the screen. And I know that a real human person can like laugh in an uncomfortable situation because they're uncomfortable, and that they can do things that make it seem like they're into something when they're not into something. But with a movie, I have no way of telling the truth. So if you don't have a conversation where she talks to Joseph Gordon-Levitt and says some of this shit, this feels kind of out of left field.
It does. And it just, again, but like as a lawyer, you like, how can you think any of this means you're done? You're a lawyer.
Yeah.
And apparently a very good one. So like, what?
Yeah. We also have like a Gremlins-esque tonal shift where we leave this tough conversation with Jane. It's Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Eddie in the car, and Eddie Joseph Gordon-Levitt tells Eddie about this time where his dad, like after years and years of not doing a great job, came to him and apologized and how much it meant to him. And they have like kind of a real moment together. That's nice. Like it's well acted by both of them. And then we pull up to this club and it's Luis Guzman covered in glitter singing karaoke.
I'm obsessed with this.
No, this rules.
And
this rules.
I wanted 10% more of this character.
Luis Guzman is a criminally underused actor. He can go serious. He can go funny. He can split the difference like he does here. Yeah, very good in Wednesday. He was always very funny on Community. I've seen him in all sorts of stuff. Actually, I don't know if he's in Community. No, he's not in Community. They have a statue of him in Community because he's like the famous alumni of the community college.
I love that.
But he's always been very funny, and now as like a little bit older actor, he fits that character actor role, which we have so precious few of. And it's just like, He's great here, and I agree with you. I could have had 10% more. I could have had like Guzman pop up again at the end to help in the big fight. That one I would have been fine with, not Surge. But I
don't think we need to give Surge a gun. I don't think he's going to be very effective with a gun.
Yeah,
but Luis Guzman clearly would handle himself well.
But like, wouldn't it be like Surge with like a gold-plated Desert Eagle Magnum that can like punch holes through gods? You know,
that's
what he would have.
He would have a purse, and he would open his purse and pull out this.
It would flip down and reveal 2 Desert Eagle Magnums, like pointed the opposite directions, like the barrels touching.
It was like crushed velvet inserts, inlays, and then individual bullets instead of magnums because it's just drama.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like, you know, Guzman here is just like, you drop him in, he provides this great spice. He provides exposition dump in a way that's engaging, which is very hard to do in movies.
It is.
And it's
you make him like a kind of gay drug lord who's working with the police. Like, I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, we get an obligatory Shrek reference where Eddie Murphy tells someone that they're layered like an onion.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it to him.
But yeah, this scene is like really short, really quick.
Well, now they got Kung Fu Panda. They're off the Shrek train.
DreamWorks no, baby! Announced today, Shrek 5.
No, really?
I saw it. I did not investigate. I just saw it today before we started this podcast.
I just know that the Kung Fu Panda is sort of their new bread and butter.
But yeah, he provides his exposition dump and then kind of Ubers out of the movie. Bye. But we go outside and Kevin Bacon arrests the 2 of them with
planted cocaine.
Yeah. And it's like, oh man, are we gonna get a fucking "we're not so different, you and I"? And Bacon starts like, you know, ranting and raving. He's interrogating Eddie in the interrogation room, and I really fucking hate this motivation for cops in movies where it's like, do you know how little I get paid? I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, you chose this job. The salary is public.
In the same way that people get mad that McDonald's workers want a fair wage, like, you picked that. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is, though, is like, you know, encouraging a corporation to pay more is one thing. This is a public sector job with a posted, like, the salary of a police officer is public information. You know this when you start the job. That's the thing I was about to say. Motherfucker, just retire. You're clearly past retirement age, which is only 20 years of service for police officers. Collect your fucking pension and go be a security consultant at double the salary. Why are you stealing and doing drugs? It's so much more work and so much more penalty. When I worked as a reporter in the town of Frederick, Maryland, when I was
I remember this. I don't remember if this was a podcast story or a real life story, but
I'm going to tell it quickly in case it's a podcast story. The like 3rd highest cop in the department retired, and I didn't know that, but like I covered police, so like I knew who the guy was. He and I had conversations over the years that I worked there, and one day I saw him standing outside of a jewelry store with like a security guard uniform, and I walked over to him and I was like, "Man, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I retired." And I'm like, "So you do this now?" He's like, "Yeah." And he didn't say this to me explicitly, but then I came to realize he retired with a full pension, so he's collecting that salary and is doing this new job for another additional salary. And it's like, come on, Kevin Bacon, go do that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So Eddie Murphy slips out of his handcuffs again and unscrews.
Love this gag. This is so great. Good.
Well, because my brain...
It's honestly the best gag in the movie. It's like the most Axel Foley gag thing. Sorry for cutting you off again.
So he unscrews the vent, and then Kevin Bacon comes in and sees that there's a chair on the table, and the vent is open, and the handcuffs are down, and he like climbs up and like looks in the vent, and I was like, oh, Eddie Murphy should have just stayed in the vent and kicked him in the face. Like, he's gonna kick him in the face as soon as he gets out of there. But then but then because most vents aren't actually capable of holding human bodies, Axel Foley never went in the vent and like yanks the chair out from under Kevin Bacon.
He hits his face on the table and gets knocked out. He rushes over to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's cell. He busts him out. And
I will say they should have kept their handcuffs as knuckles.
Oh, well, I don't think they want to fight the cops, even though they're corrupt.
You might not want to, but you might have to. Like,
yeah,
in this situation, you do what you gotta do.
So they're trying to escape the police station, and then they have to go up. And it turns out this was Eddie's plan, Axel's plan all along.
Oh, we forgot to mention Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a helicopter pilot at one point in his career.
Yes, we saw this very briefly that he was a helicopter pilot, and so they run to the helicopter, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like doing Lamaze breathing, trying to psych himself up, and Eddie Murphy's like, "We gotta go. What are you doing?" And he's like, "The last time I flew a helicopter, I crashed, and I've not flown one."
No, they're already
since.
up. They're starting to pull up, and then he reveals that,
which is a pretty good gag.
That's great.
And then like. I know this is clearly like a rotorless helicopter attached to a crane, but there's a real helicopter going down a real street around cars. It looks cool as hell. It's so good.
I was like, what the hell are they? At one point, Kevin Bacon goes, "What are they doing?" I went, "No, what are they doing? Why are they flying in the street instead of up in the air where helicopters normally go?"
And I think it's because he's too afraid. He's like, "I'll just drive on the street with this thing."
That's some GTA bullshit.
Yes. And then they get close to the precinct where Joseph Gordon-Levitt works, and Taggart comes outside, and
because the two cops from earlier in the movie call Taggart to be like, "Hey, Kevin Bacon just arrested Eddie Murphy and Joseph Gordon-Levitt on cocaine charges," and he's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, and then we have a conversation where Taggart is on the ground and Eddie is in the passenger seat of this helicopter, and they're yelling at each other and acting like they can hear each other, and I was like, "All right, guys."
Well, it's not much. It's just that Taggart says, "Are you kidding me? You stole a fucking helicopter," and Eddie Murphy like shrugs and points at Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, but it's like they can't fucking hear each other. Come on. I mean, it's a funny gag, but it's a little silly. And then Kevin Bacon rolls up and just starts shooting at the fucking helicopter, and much like Robert De Niro in Midnight Run, with a handgun, takes out a helicopter.
Yeah, he hits the rotor in the back, and I was like, oh, they're going to crash into water because that's probably better for this helicopter than ground.
Yeah.
And instead, no, they just crash into ground. And I was like, okay, you should have done water.
Yeah.
And this is where Shooter McGavin shows up.
Yeah, it's Christopher McDonald allegedly playing Shooter McGavin, which again, like, doesn't do any Shooter McGavin stuff to me, but whatever. Also, they're trying to get that Lego sequel going, so it just seems weird that Netflix.
Apparently, it's off the ground. It's got legs. Apparently.
Okay. All right.
But I mean,
it doesn't surprise
what won't
me.
Adam Sandler do for a paycheck and a large tray of shrimp?
Right. Maybe that's why. Maybe they're both going to be Netflix movies. Because Adam Sandler has that Netflix deal.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
This is a Netflix movie, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's where the tray of shrimp comes from. It was that murder mystery movie he did.
Ah, okay.
Where I watched it with some friends. We were drinking, and I was like, because I had seen a podcast I listened to she was like, I got high, and I put that on TV, and I thought I was watching a fake movie from the background of a movie. And I was like, that's exactly the vibe. But at one point, he leaves a scene that he does something stupid because he's in cargo shorts and everyone's dressed nicely. And then he picks up a large tray of shrimp and walks out of the room with it. And then the next scene is him walking down a hallway with Jennifer Aniston, just eating shrimp off of this tray. And I was like, oh, what a life.
So they steal the golf cart and then they steal a car.
From the code-switching valet.
Yeah, code-switching valet is a pretty fun scene. I think
love that.
Without repeating all of the jokes, I think this is a pretty solid bit of business. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, rolling over and snagging a pair of keys works really well, too.
Maybe this is the Robin from Dark Knight Rises. Maybe this is what happened to him.
Yeah,
because that kid also was he also had a, what do you say, unkempt upbringing or whatever? Misspent youth?
Misspent youth, yeah. So they figure out where Billy is. They find his car when they do this surveillance.
Well, and Jane gets kidnapped. Jane talks to Taggart.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Taggart realizes that there's shockingly there's corruption in the police department.
What a miracle.
In a rare turn of events.
Yeah. Who would have seen this coming? No one could have.
Yeah. She gets kidnapped. They drive off with a truck full of, I don't know, cocaine statues?
Well, first they bust Judge Reinhold out, which is a pretty good, distract the guards and knock the guards out. And then Judge Reinhold picks up the AK-47 and racks the slide in it and puts it up over his shoulder, which I just loved. You
know what that energy was? My name is Horace.
Yes, 100%.
That is that exact energy.
Exactly right. Yeah, see our Monster Squad app. But in my head, that was not in the script, and Judge Reinhold was like, fuck that, and just picked it up on the way out.
Oh, yeah. as
He's
they drive
apparently
away
obsessed with guns in the second one, and also obsessed with like Stallone and Rambo, because like later we find out about the Rambo knife. So anyway, they steal the truck full of drugs.
Cocaine statues, and this is where they have a CGI explosion as they drive by, because I wrote CGI explosion, boo.
Yeah, there's like real fire down low, but no, the explosion is fake. Also, the goon that I couldn't place is Mark Pellegrino from Supernatural.
Okay. Paul Reiser gets to be included again.
Yeah,
he's still part of the team.
He's tracking Jane's phone. It's literally his retirement party. And then he like cuts over, and it's very funny. He's like, I need you to do this tracking. And then Paul Reiser doesn't say any words to the woman in front of him who's on the computer, but she is doing the thing that he has been asked to do. And he's like, okay, she's on this and that. And it's like, well, shouldn't there have been a line, or shouldn't he put this on speaker? Like, this woman just intuitively knows what he's thinking. She's a precog.
So they find out where she is, that she's not where Kevin Bacon said she was. She's at the mansion. We got a throwback to the strip club bits from the first movie, which was nice.
Yeah, and then this other bit may be in a previous Beverly Hills Cop movie, but it is like such an actual Foley move where he's like, we need to get some backup, and Joseph JGL is like, I don't think we're going to get any backup. They think that we are cocaine running drug cop killers. And so he knocks the door off a police car that's doing a traffic stop so that the cops will start chasing them. And the best part of it is but it is brilliant. But the best part of it is Judge Reinhold in the far passenger seat, not the middle one. That's JGL, like cackling with delight and going, "I missed you, Axel."
It's so good. Except unfortunately, all of their gathered backup gets into a pileup.
Yeah. And I also take away a point for someone saying, well, this is awkward in the cab of the truck. Like, throw that joke in the garbage for eternity, please. Thank you.
Well, I will let that one slide, because Judge Reinhold goes, oh, is he taking you to a strip club yet? And Eddie Murphy goes, I'm not taking you to a strip club. He has had intercourse with my daughter.
Yeah.
And that is, now it's awkward.
I know, but you don't need to have someone say, well, now it's awkward. You know what I mean? I'm tired of that joke. This one. Put that joke in the freezer with Joss Whedon. Thanks.
I think we can let him thaw in a trash can. I think Joss Whedon can take it, just come out of the freezer. It's some 4-year-old gray meat just labeled taco ? I think we can just don't even open the vacuum seal. Just put it right in the trash can.
We can give this movie credit, though, for a great truck stunt. With this vehicle as it goes, and then driving through the which I wish this wasn't in the trailer, but say lovey, driving through the front of the house. I didn't see the trailer,
so this was all fresh for me.
Okay, looks really great. Lots of it's definitely CGI enhanced, but they definitely drove a truck through a wall. And then Ashton rolling in with a shotgun at 70 and just kind of like lumping forward.
Calls someone a cocksucker and fires a shotgun at him.
Yeah, and then when he lands on the ground next to Judge Reinhold, they're doing like the whole back and forth, like the old days.
He goes, at some point, not now, but at some point I would like an apology for being right about all of this.
And he's like, I'm here with guns to help you. And he's like, yeah, I still want to hear the words. I thought that was like the ingenue thing.
Mwah. It was perfect.
Yeah, I agree. And then his follow-up line where he's like, all right, on a count of three, we're going to get up and start shooting. He's like, okay, there's one problem. What's that? My back went out, or whatever he says.
I can't get up.
I can't get up. And then we get a repeat of the Judge Reinhold, you're all under arrest. And then, shot.
Some things never change. Jane has been kidnapped up in the upstairs, but she gets agency and slips out of her cuffs, knocks someone out, takes their gun. She's doing shit.
And the moment with Eddie and her that I think it works really well is that he is willing to take a bullet for her. Kevin Bacon wheels on her to shoot, and he jumps in front of a bullet for his daughter. And it's like, she's been told by several people how much her dad cares about you, but she's not really seen that in her life. And this is a pretty ultimate act of care of somebody that you're willing to take a fucking bullet for him.
And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets the big kill.
Yeah.
Shocked.
Yeah. I was really bummed that this wasn't a real squib, I have to say.
I know. It was a headshot, though, so I guess they could have done the back of the head one.
Yeah, do the thing out of the back of the head. Yeah.
But frankly, I was like, I would have rather Jane done it.
Yeah,
Than JGL.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with that because we had seen like there was a whole sequence earlier where he's like, "You still going to the firing?" And she's like, "No, I don't go to the firing range." And it's like, actually, she has because we see
she
her
probably
use a gun very
There's
effectively.
Because I wanted he shot her father and she wheels and is like, "No, bang."
Yeah,
but whatever.
There's a nice bit where like he's in the hospital and the food is gross, and then so she comes to visit and she finds him at the diner across the street ordering a milkshake and burger and fries.
Which so I thought the button on this joke, because he's sitting there in his hospital gown with his Lions jacket on, and she gets him up to leave, and I was like, we're gonna see his butt. That's the punchline, is that he walked out of the hospital with the gown open in the back.
Yeah. That would have been funny. I would have liked that, actually. They have a nice moment together, and it's like a good conversation.
It's very sweet.
They do the thing where they like continue the talking as ADR dialogue, and I definitely feel like there's like a little bit too much cutesy business because they just had this like kind of big and emotional moment, and it's not like, I love you, Dad. I love you too, Jane. It's like, well, you better not leave Beverly Hills now. You have to stay. And it's like, I don't think they're quite that far in this relationship yet. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I thought she just said, if you stay and recover, we can, next time you call me, I'll answer you.
They do. That's the conversation in the diner. And then they start crossing the street and she says, you better not leave Beverly Hills then, in a way that's like,
I must have just tuned out.
Because they're, and also I found it very funny that they're jaywalking, getting beeped at like 8 feet in front of a crosswalk.
But that's always how it goes. No one actually pays attention to the crosswalks. Like we cross, and I'm like, it's right. I could have taken the 5 steps to my left to actually be on the crosswalk, but meh.
But do you do that while jaywalking across an intersection where you don't have the light? Because that's insane.
No, but I don't have plot armor either.
It was just kind of funny to me. She says part of the ADR dialogue is, you better promise not to leave. And I was like, wait, what? What's going on here?
And then we get the nice button. So we get a half button where it's Taggart and Rosewood doing their stakeout, lovely little like friendly conversation.
Yeah, perfect. Judge is asking about his sex life.
And then Axel jumps in the back seat, and it's just like in the first movie. And he goes, I want a steak. Come on, I'm sick of hospital food. And I was like, oh, they're going to go to a strip club. That's the joke. I want a steak. We're going to get a steak dinner at a strip club.
Yeah.
But we don't get that.
Would have been good. No, but we do get the line. I think Judge gets the best line of the last half of the movie, frankly, where
Yep.
Like they're going back and forth, and Judge is clearly about to do it. Ashton doesn't want him to do it, and he's like, "Come on!" And he turns to Ashton and is like, "Sarge, we both know I'm gonna do it." And
he
puts
it was
the
so
car
good.
in gear. Yeah, it was just perfect, and it's like that. I'm really glad that we finally got a moment where the three of them get to share a scene, even if it's just this little button on the movie. I frankly would have liked 5 more minutes of this or 3 more minutes of this.
Yeah.
And by this, I mean the three of them together, not necessarily in the car. And that's why I think like movie 5, I guess, clearly like it would be my guess that they would jam as much of that in as they could. But I was shocked at how much I enjoyed this. Like really shocked at how much I enjoyed this. Yeah. Like is it a great movie? No, I wouldn't call it great.
Is it like 5-10 too long? Yeah.
Yeah. But the vibe's right. Like they have the practical stunts. Every character is still doing the same game they were doing before, but they're not doing necessarily the same bits. There are certainly some repeated bits from the previous movies. I won't deny that, but not all of it is just repeated bits from the same movies. And I really thought that worked great. Like it was less me getting nudged in the ribs every 5 seconds. Like, hey, remember this? Remember this?
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean, I would recommend this for sure if you're a fan of Beverly Hills Cop. There's like almost no way you won't enjoy this. Yeah, it's a fun movie, and I agree with you. It's a hair too long, but it's like identical runtime to the original. So it's like
I thought they said it was longer.
So it is, but the actual movie has like 6.5 or 7 minutes of credits. So
it is a lot of credits,
the actual movie time is pretty darn similar. So. Yeah, this is a double recommend. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. This is one of the more fun theme months we've done. I don't think you're going to like baseball month quite as much.
God.
So yeah, check this out. It's on Netflix, a Netflix original, but a pretty well made one. It's a lot of fun. Don't forget to rate and review the show wherever you get it. That's very important. Helps us get the word out about the show. Tell 2 friends, of course. We appreciate when you do that. Check us out on social media, trying to get better at that stuff. Dissecting the 80s on Instagram and Facebook, and at Dissect the 80s on Twitter. Would love to hear from you there. If you want to hit us with your Beverly Hills Cop series ranking, happy to hear it there as well. I probably will go back and pick up 2 and 3 at some point here, just because I enjoy doing this. Don't forget about Listener Request Month. Details at the top of the show or on the socials. And visit us at patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to get even more of this show. Next month, as I said, is the start of baseball month. We are doing Major League to kick things off, which you might like. There's some jokes there. It's probably not terribly homophobic. It's only mildly homophobic, I'm guessing.
We'll see.
But until then,
I'll just watch A League of Their Own. And you can watch your movie, and we'll just see if it sticks up.
I somehow doubt it.
Did we do League of Their Own? We did.
No, that movie's from '94. So
is it really? Oh,
yeah. Wouldn't have done it until recently. I wish that there was useful information in my brain that I could just confidently recall that way and be mostly right about. It might be '95, but it's like, for God's sake.
So you're telling me you programmed a baseball month and didn't put in League of Their Own?
Well, there's some baseball movies celebrating big anniversaries, so I'm just saying.
Okay.
We could have 2 baseball months. We could go back.
I don't want 2 baseball months.
We go back. There's a lot of baseball movies. We go back to baseball month. Maybe The Sandlot and the one you just said are next year. Yeah, maybe that's.
But why weren't those?
Because I wanted to do Major League. That's why. And the other one is almost certainly a mom pick. Anyway, patreon.com/dissecting80s. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We will be back in 2 weeks to celebrate baseball month in the dog days of summer. I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production. Ow.